All right, give us your sense of the decision taken by the MPC, leaving the key lending rate unchanged. We know that also inflation has been fairly constant over the last 2 or so months at 8.4%. So what were the variables here that they had to consider?
It's the reason why the governor or the Monetary Policy Committee left the rate unchanged at 12.5%. It's mainly because of upside risk to inflation. Over the last 3 months, starting from July, the cedi, that's the local currency, has been weakening against the dollar and the other 3 major currencies. So based on that, and based on other upside risk in wage pressures, as well as payment arrears. You know, Ghana migrated onto the single spine salary, where a lot of salaries have been increased by certain margins. So looking at all these factors and going to its implications on inflation going forward, the Bank of Ghana decided to leave the key rate unchanged at 4.5%. So those are the key reasons or the key factors that led to today's monetary policy decision.
All right, you talk about wages, but another risk that is posed to inflation is the rising cost of utilities. What does that mean for the household? And what does that mean for business as well, and the cost of doing business in Ghana?
Actually, the major upside risk to that one, the last time they increased there was about roughly about 7%. Before then, wages and utilities went up about 30% before then. But if the margins are really not very large, it has very little effect on inflation. The last time it went up was 7%. It didn't have so much impact on inflation. And the PURC, the regulators of utilities, are saying that going forward, they don't see any increments coming in the short term. So that factor doesn't have much impact in the short term on inflation.
Derrick, it's been a bit of a challenge for the Bank of Ghana because it's the one country where inflation wasn't spiraling out of control and there wasn't really a case to be hiking rates, so we kept on seeing the lending rate being dropped. Okay, so right now things are turning a little bit, but the big challenge in Ghana is to get banks lending, is to get credit flowing into the real economy. These decisions, how will they support this particular side of getting money into the real economy and supporting general growth outside of key sectors?
The key lending rate, which is the policy rate, is the major lending rate that the banks and everyone looks at to come out with their base rates. Over the period, policy rate has been declining. It went all the way to about 18.5% and it's declined all the way to 12.5%. The banks haven't really reacted so much to this change because there are still certain risk factors within the economy. One of them is the fact that there's still a high default rate in the country, so they are a bit pessimistic in lending out. Also, interest rates on risk-free assets as treasury bills and whatnot are also a bit, though they decline generally, they are significantly high. So they prefer to hold their assets in these risk-free investments compared to lending it out as in loans and whatnot, which has a lot of risk attached to it. So these are the major factors that are really holding banks, preventing banks from reducing their base rate. The average base rate in the 24 or 26 banks in Ghana right now is somewhere around 20-22%. The lowest was Standard Chartered Bank, who reduced its base rate to 16.95% just about 2 months ago. So generally, the monetary policy decisions is having very little effect on the general climate in the economy because of the risk of inflation and the risk of default in the economy.
Okay, everybody's excited, Derrick, about Ghana. We've been talking about growth rates anywhere between 12%, 14%. Some even said 33%, but authorities are saying a more realistic figure is about 14% in Ghana. How will GDP be supported by some of these other macro factors? Inflation that may rise to 9% but remain in single digits, and this lending rate at 12%. How does that all serve to reinforce Ghana as an economy, as an investment destination?
Ghana is still prime. Ghana is still the key place to look at when you're talking in terms of investment. Our GDP is forecasted to grow about 13.36, roughly 14% in 2011. This is mainly because of the onset of production of oil, crude oil in the country. But if you're talking in terms of inflation and how it's going to impact on our GDP growth this year, inflation though has some risk currently, is largely expected to remain in single digits. We are expecting inflation to close December 31st this year at a single digit, which has already been factored into the forecast of GDP.
Okay.
So I don't think inflation will be having so much effect on our GDP forecast of about 13.3.
Okay.